Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you what's new in Cubasis 3.3. This new update brings a lot of professional and user-requested features to Cubasis like Midi Learn, MCU and HUI support, Sidechain support, audio unit instrument multi-out support, extended Midi routing, and a lot of other improvements. And all of this while keeping simplicity and ease of use in mind. There's a lot of things to go through, so let's get started. Let's talk about one of the really exciting features in Cubasis 3.3, the extended Midi routing. With the extended Midi routing, you have a lot of flexibility. You can basically route Midi from one channel to the other or even control plugins. So I'm going to show you an example on how you can use extended Midi routing with a plugin from Waves Tune Real-Time. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to set it up. So what I have here is I have an audio channel where I'm going to record my voice, and I've added Waves Tune Real-Time as an insert effect. Simple. The next thing that I have is a Midi channel. Now, as you can see in the routing, you will see that this Midi channel doesn't go to anything, no Midi output is selected, and no instrument is loaded. So right now, it won't produce any sound, but we're going to use this Midi channel to control Waves Tune Real-Time. So let me show you how easy that is. First, I'm going to select my audio channel. I'm going to activate my monitoring, and then I'm going to go to my inserts. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to do is make sure that my target pitch is enabled for MIDI inputs. And now I'm going to basically tell Waves Tune Real-Time to get the notes from the channel that I've created. All you need to do is click on this icon here. So this is the Effect MIDI source track dialog. Now I can select which MIDI track I'm going to use to control Waves Tune Real-Time. So I'm going to select the channel that I've created here, and basically I'm good to go. Now the only thing I need to do is make sure that both of these are record enabled. And now you will see that whatever note I play on the keyboard, that's what the Waves Tune Real-Time is going to correct to. Let's have a listen.
In a galaxy far, far away, whoa, in a galaxy far, far away.
So this is one of the creative ways that you can do this. And actually, if you take it one step further, you can create vocal harmonies with this technique. Let me show you what I've done in this project, for example. I have one single vocal track that I've duplicated 2 times, okay? And then I've added Waves Tune on each one of the vocals. And each one of these Waves Tune instances are being controlled by a different MIDI track, as you can see here. So this means that I have a 3-voice harmony out of one single vocal. Let's have a listen.
The sky, watching you fly, aiming for everything and anything so high.
So as you can see, from one vocal, I generated 2 more harmonies. And if I play it together with the track, so lots and lots of fun. I think you can be really creative with this function. And it goes without saying that if you want to route MIDI from one channel to the other, it's very simple. So I can go on any channel, go MIDI outputs, and then just select any MIDI channel that I want to control from that specific MIDI channel. Especially if you're using MIDI effects, arpeggiators, this can be really useful. Another really exciting feature in Cubasis 3.3 is the sidechain support. Now, sidechain allows you to do a lot of things, but one of the most common things that people use it for is to create those really popular pumping, sidechain effects. So, for example, you might want to sidechain your bass to your kick drum. So when your kick drum hits, the bass is going to be ducked. In my case, I'm going to demonstrate this for you with the kick drum triggering a compressor for my entire synth group. So I've grouped all my synths, my bass, my arpeggiators, my pads, and now I'm going to sidechain this group to my kick drum. And I'm going to show you two examples here. First, I'm going to use the channel strip, and I'm going to show you how to set it up because it's very, very simple. Right now, we don't have sidechain activated. If you want to activate it, you just tap on this button here, and then you can select your sidechain input track. It can be anything in your project. In my case, I'm going to go for the kick drum. Okay, and that's it. Now my synth group is sidechained to my kick drum. And as you can see, it's here on the insert effects. We can also select the level for the sidechain and all these good things. And now you will notice that once I activate the compressor is going to compress when the kick drum hits. Let's have a listen. Without? And the great thing with the channel strip is that you can even do this using the gate. And this can give you some really interesting results. So basically what's going to happen now is that when the kick drum hits, the gate is going to open, and this will give us a very interesting kind of choppy sound. Let's have a listen. Let's alternate. So that's loads and loads of fun. It's incredible that we can do this in Cubasis 3.3. And the great thing is, it's so simple to set up. It's literally one click away, no complicated routing, none of that. Tap and sidechain. Now let's try and do this with an AU plugin. In this case, I'm going to use the Pro C2. And as you can see, I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm sidechaining to my kick drum. And I also make sure that external sidechain is selected on the plugin. So now let's have a listen. So, as you can see, sidechaining is possible with internal plugins, but also with AU plugins. Brilliant. Now, let's talk about audio unit instruments multi-out support that's now introduced in Cubasis 3.3. So, why is this important and how can you use it? So, this is a big deal when you want to process and mix your multi-out instruments. Now you can do this. So let me give you an example. I have a drum pattern here. Let's have a listen. And as you can see, with this pattern, we have several elements. We have the kick drum, snare, hi-hat, and so on and so forth. But if you notice, everything comes out of one single channel, which means I can only process this as a stereo out. I can only apply effects like compression, EQ, reverb to the whole drum kit and not, let's say, just the snare or just the hi-hat. I can also not pan things around. But now with Cubasis 3.3, we have support for multi-out instruments. Let me show you what the difference is. Let's copy this part and paste it to this instance of EG Pulse that I'm using here. Now, this is a multi-output instance of this instrument, which means that if I play this back now, I can only hear the kick drum. That's because now I can activate several outputs for this instrument and I can have all the different elements of the drum kit in a separate channel. Let me show you how easy it is to do this. So I'm going to my multi-output AU instrument. And as you can see, when we go to the name of the instrument, now we have a new button there. It says add 15 tracks. So that means that this instrument has 15 more outputs. So if we click on that, you will see that now all of a sudden we have 15 more channels to play with. And this means that I can now have every element to its own channel. Let's have a listen. So as you can see, we have the kick drum here. Here we have the snare. We also have the clap, the hi-hat, all these things. And of course, if I want to, I can go ahead and rename the channel. So maybe I want to name this kick. Then I want to go to this one and call it snare, and so on and so forth. And then we have a lot of flexibility. For example, all these channels can hold Midi data as well. So as you can see right now, all my Midi is on the kick drum channel. But if I wanted to record a crash cymbal, for example, in the crash channel, I can do this straight on the crash channel so that I can have a little bit more flexibility when editing my Midi as well. For example, let's go here and I'm going to start recording. And as you can see, now I recorded my cymbals on a different channel, and they will also play on the respective mixer channel as well. And now we have a lot of flexibility when we want to mix our multi-hour instrument. So let me focus on these drums here. You will see that now, first of all, I can really listen to what's going on, and now I can start mixing my drum kit. I can do panning, I can add different effects, I can change the levels of each instrument. Let's have a listen. Maybe make the kick drum a little bit louder. I also want to add a little bit of reverb to that snare. And maybe a little bit of thump. You know, pan my toms, add reverbs, make the sound much bigger and much more exciting. But now we have control over every individual element. And that applies to any multi-output AU instrument, but also multi-out MIDI effects as well. Another amazing new feature in Cubasis 3.3 is the Midi Learn, MCU and HUI support. This means that now we can control Cubasis using a control surface, like what I have here. And not only we can control Cubasis, but we have many options, many different options to control Cubasis, the plugins, the instruments that we run in Cubasis, depending on our workflow. So let me show you. I have a control surface right here, and I'm going to use this control surface to control Cubasis using the new Midi Learn mode. The great thing is, it's super simple to use this function. Let me show you how you do it. We go Setup, then Midi, and then you will see we have a new entry called Midi Learn. So all we need to do is activate this and then hit Learn. And once we do this, you will see that we have highlighted all the different things that we can assign for Cubasis. So now all I need to do is select a function, let's say, for example, play, and then assign it to any control on my control surface. For example, I'm going to hit this play button right here. And now this is assigned to my play button. If I want to assign the record button, I assign this right here. And maybe I want to assign these ones as well. Fantastic. Now, let's say, for example, that I also want to assign the zoom in and zoom out functions. I can go here. Okay, see, zoom in. And here, zoom out. And not only that, this can be assigned to pretty much anything I want. If I open the mixer, I might want to assign this one to my first fader here, this one to my second fader, my third fader. I can assign the panning if I want to, like that. And then when I'm done, I can hit exit MIDI learn and I'm good to go. Now, if I hit play, I can start playing my project. I can zoom in and out on my channels, and pretty much anything that I want to assign, I can do this in this way. Now, there's even more to this. It gets even more convenient because if you want, you can start creating presets for your control surfaces. For example, I can go here and create a new preset and give it the name of my controller. And now, once I start assigning functions, this will be saved and retained for that specific controller, which is great. Another very important function when you're using MIDI Learn is that you can use a selected track mode. What that means is that when you start assigning things to a specific track, these will be applied to whichever track you have selected. So for example, if I want to assign my fader here to this channel and my panning here, that means that once I exit MIDI Learn, I can of course control this track, but if I go, for example, to the next track, I can control the next track as well. Same thing with the panning. So that's really, really cool. And that also applies to other things, like, for example, plugins. If I go to my Studio EQ, okay, and let's say we want to go back to MIDI Learn, I can say that I want to reserve these 4 faders to control my Studio EQ. For example, I can go to my high frequencies here, assign it there, high mids, low mids, and my low frequencies here. And then let's say I want to assign the frequency for every band with these knobs. Number 1, band 3, band 2, and band 1. So now, as you can see, I can control the bands here for my EQ. That's really nice and satisfying. But if I go to another track and open the Studio EQ, I can still control this specific track because I was doing the MIDI learning with selected track mode. Okay, so that's very convenient, very, very powerful feature, and it makes assigning things to a control surface a breeze. Here I have another example of a device that can be used as a MIDI controller for Cubasis 3.3 with the MIDI Learn function. This is a synthesizer, and as you can see, if I go to Setup, Presets, I have created a specific preset for the Yamaha Riff ACS, just the way I showed you right now, and this controls microlog. So I assign parameters from microlog to the controls of the Yamaha Riff ACS. So for example, I can go here, turn up my oscillator 1 volume, oscillator 2 volume, and then I can also change the chords. Filter, resonance, and then I can activate my envelope as well. If I go here, so basically, now I have hands-on control of the synthesizers and the plugins. That makes me happy. Now, if that wasn't enough, Cubasis 3.3 now offers MCU and HUI support, which means that if your control surface can work in MCU or HUI mode, you're pretty much covered. Let me show you how it works. My control surface here is set to MCU mode and specifically for Cubase. So what I can do here is go Setup, activate Mackie Control HUI, and now I can select the ports for Mackie and HUI. And in my case, I'm going to select my mix phase. And as you can see, now these ports are assigned for Mackie Control. Now all I need to do is close this and I'm good to go. So now if I hit play, I can use my jog wheel to navigate across the project. I can do channel selections like this. And of course, if I open the mixer, I can start mixing my project. I have my panning here. I can do mutes, solo, record, enable a channel. And this is fantastic because with Mackie or HUI, everything is pre-mapped already, so you don't have to do any mappings. And the best part of it is you can have two different devices like what I have here. Use one in MCU mode, for example, and use the other one for Midi learn. And then you can get the best of both worlds. You can have the MCU support for all the basic stuff like the transport, controlling your mixer and all these things. And then you can use another device to do Midi learning and control more specific things, maybe synthesizers, maybe plugins. So with Midi learn, MCU and HUI support, the possibilities for controlling Cubasis are now pretty much endless. So there you go. These are just a few things that you can find in the new Cubasis 3.3 update. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have loads of fun with Cubasis, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.